Hi, my name is Michael Flores, and today I'm going to be talking about Steven Spielberg. Over the weekend, I took the liberty of watching three of Steven Spielberg's films. The first one is Catch Me If You Can with Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio. The second is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade with Harrison Ford and Sean Connery playing his father. And the third one is Ready Player One, which is a little bit more recent compared to his other films, featuring Simon Pegg as a supporting actor. In most of Steven Spielberg's films, he's used quite a bit of motifs in his films. The one that I can spot out almost indefinitely throughout his entire films is his play on daddy issues. For instance, in Ready Player One, Wade Watts doesn't really have a father figure in his life. In the film, he talks about him losing his father during this crisis that the world has been through. And so he lived his life just living on his own and through the guardianship of his aunt, which really isn't also in the picture for him as well. In Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, we see that he's grown apart from his father and that he doesn't really have that much of a relationship with the two. Throughout his films, he really loves to set the scene for everyone in the audience. So, for example, in Ready Player One, he uses a very front shot of the world that Wade Watts is living in, and along the way, Wade Watts is just telling his story as we go deeper into his world, talking about farming crises and some riots that may have happened earlier in the years of the movie. In terms of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, we get a glimpse of how Indy first started to be who he was or who he is in the movies. He started off as, for what I consume, as an Eagle Scout, and by observing some bandits, he puts it onto himself to be the more responsible one of the bunch, and setting out to find different artifacts to preserve in a museum rather than to make a quick buck. Considering how he frequently uses daddy issues, it just tells a lot about himself, of that how he never really had a father figure in his life. And so now that he's become a father, he's taken it up to himself to become the better man than his father was. I think there comes a point in time where we all have kind of a fallen relationship with our own fathers. I think it's just, as we're growing up as a person, we try to decide who we want to be in life, and it's not necessarily wanting to follow in our father's footsteps, but more of our own. And I think Spielberg really plays a part in this because he never really had much of a role model in his life. Having to go through his parents' divorce, he's just having to put himself into his own shoes and not really looking up to anyone above him, but looking out for himself. One thing that I did notice is that he loves to use dolly shots, and in this case, it's referred to as like the Spielberg face. In Ready Player One, there's a scene where we're dollying forward into Wade Watts' face, and then it kind of pans into the ocular vision of the goggles that he's putting on to himself. In Catch Me If You Can, there's a scene where his parents are getting a divorce, and he's faced with having to choose whether to stay with his father or with his mother, and having a lawyer in his face kind of pressuring him to sign whatever name. Spielberg again dollies forward into Leo's face to capture the emotion that he's going through, of the pain of his family being ripped apart. as a result from these Spielberg shots, it really makes you know how to feel. By that I mean we as an audience are getting up close and personal to these actors, and as they're experiencing all these emotions, we ourselves mirror that same emotion and sympathize for that character.